What's happening, everybody? I'm back. It's me, your resident supervillain, Mr. J. Washington. I'm here with another edition of the One-on-One with the Supervillain series. That's me. And as you know, so I talk to members of my supervillain squad, and we sit down for at least an hour, talk about whatever it is they want to talk about. And as I always say, and I always mean, these conversations have been phenomenal. And I'm so glad to talk to this man again because of the time. Like, all these conversations are coming back around the greatest time to talk about them, because we've talked about everything leading up to it. So I'm talking Mr. Jim Payne. Jim, what's happening?
Hey Jay, how you doing?
I'm well. I'm well. All things considered. I mean, things could have been a hell of a lot worse.
Yeah. Well, 25% of the country turned out, not the voting country, the entire country turned out to fire his ass. So
yeah. So you're in Pennsylvania. So I
yes,
gotta ask, what's the atmosphere like out there?
It's not bad. It's not but he tried twice before the election. He tried to take things to the court and got turned away. And as you said on Blurgs today, they turned him away at the door this time.
It's so amazing.
He is pissed off. He's pissed off Republicans in this state because a lot of the election officials are Republican, and they're like, no, there is nothing going on with this election. There is no fraud. There is no fix. There's nothing.
And he can't prove it at all to save his life. I think that's the biggest thing. No. It's like, yo, we get you. This is the thing. Your pride is hurt because for the first time in life, you've literally been fired from something.
Oh, and you'll get this. This was my funny look at the election. It was like that pro wrestling scene, when someone does the heel or face turn. Trump was in the ring. He thought Pennsylvania had his back, and we hit him with a folding chair.
Yep.
I knew you would get it. Most people.
Most people who aren't wrestling fans wouldn't understand it. But I know I was like, because I said, like many other people, I forgot, because I didn't pay that much attention to what they had said about what they officially decreed about mail-in ballots. So I was assuming they were always going to do them like they normally did them. Like when they come in, they count them, and then they give you the tally. I didn't know that they were told everywhere, basically, no, you can't count these yet. And so per his request, you know how when you work in a company, per your last email, his last email, they were like, yo.
That was the Republican Party in Pennsylvania, because they control. We have a Democratic governor and a Republican House, kind of like the country, or soon to be country. But they were the ones that said, no, we'll count all the mail-in ballots after the election. And they even gave them 3 days. You had to be postmarked by the election day, but they gave the post office 3 days to get the ballot. So I knew the whole time, I knew Friday was going to be really the day, because that's the last day they were accepting ballots.
Right.
And
so everybody in Pennsylvania knew, while the world was sitting there like, what are y'all waiting on? So the Pennsylvania was like, we already know what this is.
Yeah. And it was all the COVID, because people that supported Trump didn't give a shit about COVID, don't wear their masks, don't do any of that shit. And they went to now I did too. I went and voted day of.
But you probably was responsible.
Right. I had my mask on. I actually went with a couple times because there were people nervous about things. Like, would you ride over and there's nothing. I was there twice already, but I'll ride back a third time. The lines are, I live in a small rural area. We had 11,000 or 1,100 people total vote at our polling place.
Wow.
Yeah, that's a huge turnout. I was thinking like we were going to get 500-600, maybe, because I don't
You
even
know,
live in a town. I live in a township.
oh, that's how
That's
small
kind
it
of
is.
like,
Yeah, that's to let you know how small
yeah,
the township. Yeah, I
yeah,
think the thing was because he kept saying throughout the whole campaign, "I'm running against the worst candidate in history," which
mm,
that's just not true because he's the worst
mm.
candidate in history. But he is. But the thing is, a lot of people even said it openly. I'm not voting for Biden because I care about him. I just want
Yeah,
you out. Like,
yep.
and
He
that's what he
was the
doesn't seem to
galvanizing
realize.
force.
What'd you say?
He was the galvanizing force for the Democrats this time. The
Yes.
Bernie Bros, everybody.
Mhm. The Elizabeth Warren
That,
supporters, the Yang gang.
yeah.
He was because how bad he was again, and he for some. Well, I would say for some reason, but I don't have to. He's so narcissistic that he can't
Mhm.
believe that this many people just don't like him because if, in
Yeah.
his world it's people are treating him unfairly, and it's like, nah, bruh, you just learned that silver spoon can and will run out, and you got it hit at the worst possible way.
Yeah.
You've run your businesses, nobody can tell you anything, but now even though you are the president, you're at the behest of the American voters when it comes time for an election. And
Yeah. Yeah. And I've had not run ins, but a lot of discussions since last Tuesday or Tuesday
Mhm.
before, whenever it was, um, with Trump supporters. And I'm coming to the conclusion that he has these people so not brainwashed, but snowballed. He's selling them a
Mhm.
bill of goods, and they're buying this because the first thing everybody says to me is, "I'm not a racist." Okay, I believe you because I've known you for 40 years, but
Right. The fact that you need to
um,
preface it in your statement off jump speaks volumes.
well, what I'm getting from them is everybody's jumping to that. And I'm like, all right, well, tell me why you support him. And basically, they've they've lost trust in me. They don't believe anything except what he says because he says everybody's lying to you, and they believe it. It's yeah, um, it's it's finally, I had, like, when I was defending why I voted for Biden, I said it comes down one irrefutable fact. 4 years ago, I was better off than I am today.
Mhm.
I lost two jobs in the pandemic. I went from making nearly six figures to unemployment now. you know, it's it's not his country was not working for me. And that's the only thing that will shut them up. Because, like, if I say the post office, like him wanting to close down the post office always made money. And they, oh no, I don't believe that. I was like, I looked it up on Google. I didn't like just listen to Fox or CNN.
Right.
They'll argue. They'll keep arguing. Oh no, that was a good thing. It's like anything I'd bring up. And
Yeah,
and then if you
it's
bring
weird with
up the, yeah, and it's you bring up the race inequality, and they said, well, we've been working on that for, yeah, but we ain't getting anywhere right now. Matter of fact, we're moving backwards with him.
this is what I told everybody. I just said it on today's blurts. I'm like, yo, I'm not gonna sit there and say that racism only was a big thing because of him. Like, it's always been here. It's just he gave it the thumbs up for it to be public and open with everybody.
Mm,
He gave it
mm,
the go ahead, do it. I got your back. Don't worry. And
yeah.
also, when people are like, you hear some people like, oh, I got a tax cut from Trump. And I'm like, oh, well, you're stupid because you don't realize you're going to get fucked either next year or 2024. You about because
Right.
like everybody was like, hey, this tax cut. And it's like, you didn't read the fine print. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But what's going to
Yeah.
happen is it's purpose. See, here's the beautiful thing for him, in a sense, with that tax plan. It only works now that he's not in office because when that shit kick in next year, that it screwed everybody over because everybody who thought they got this big tax cut finna get screwed over. I think it's next year, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
They get to say it's Biden's, and it's like, no, it's the dude who was before me who made you all think that you had this sweet thing coming, and you don't.
Right.
And you don't.
Yeah, and that's most of these people they're lower middle class. This area I live in is not wealthy. Now, technically it is because they bring up that we have more millionaires per capita in in the county I live, but that there are people that own farms that are, you know, yeah, your farm's worth $1 million. You're not.
Right. Your assets equal $1 million. You yourself, your net worth isn't $1 million. Your assets value is.
Right. But it's, and I've been watching a lot of the other one-on-ones and AZ Badfish. He's I know a lot of the conversations he must have had because I've been having them now, not as closer relations, but you know, friends and that still, for whatever reason, think Trump was the answer.
Well, again, it was that. So the reason I honestly, and I think I said this through 2016 before I was doing all this, what it was, you know, people got you know, the PC thing had been a while, you know, like, don't say this to offend me. I was like, okay, cool. You got tired of being said you can't say this, but people forgot that there's a difference between being told, don't say this because you're an asshole when you say it. You're just blatantly disrespecting somebody, as opposed to no, that like we refer to things differently. Things evolve. And so people like, I just want to be a dick to whoever I want and say what I want. It's like there are repercussions to your actions. Then people go, well, what about freedom of speech? That only applies to the government. Stop.
Yeah. And I've told friends, one of the words growing up that I used was retarded. I never mentioned it as a person. It was always a situation or a thing. But I took that out of my vocabulary because, yeah, I can understand why, you know, people could, even though I'm not talking about that word isn't, you know, it had other connotations.
No, and people forget that. People like when because you used to say the phrase, oh, this is fucking retarded, or you're fucking retarded. And it wasn't saying, you know, it was just the way the saying was. And then as we learned, yo, that is considered a disrespectful slur to mentally handicapped people. And then people started to understand this and were like, oh, okay, I got it. You know, the whole that's gay situation. Now, that one became, and it still kind of is a toss-up because you had members of the LGBT community like, yo, if you're not just, you've had some who be like, then you got others who like, I don't want to hear it that way. And so that's one of the ones that's a toss-up. But the retarded one, everybody was like, no, let's not do that at all.
Yeah. And one, that retarded would have been a nice way to explain the last 4 years, but
so I'm gonna tell you something though. So, you know, you've probably seen on social media which of course has been this funny thing for the past week. All these conservatives and Trump followers supposedly have gone to this new site called Parler, right? I decided to make a profile on Parler because I wanted to go ahead and see exactly how dumb and how stupid they are. And when I tell you, I literally just saw a post today where somebody was one of the top dudes was like, see, they just arrested Biden's campaign manager. And it's a black dude. Now, one of Biden's campaign officials was a black dude named Dallas Jones, which is true. The problem is the picture that they got, because he's never been arrested. He was under investigation. He was never arrested, anything. The picture they used and the dude who they call a qualified source is the picture of Cuba Gooding Jr. coming from court after he was arrested. It is of Cuba Gooding Jr.
That's facts and truth mean nothing to these people.
oh, because like they'll always say, well, we got proof here, and they'll be like, we got proof of fraud, and you'd be like, how do you have proof? Well, we talked to this one guy who talked to another guy who said he knows somebody. So
Yeah.
that's the literal definition of hearsay. Like that
Yeah.
is nothing.
Well,
And
that's
ahead,
what Trump started. That's what Trump started, even back in his campaign. It's I hear this. People were saying,
and he never heard any. He knew it. He knew his followers would follow. He never heard a word. He just knew if I say that I heard something, and everybody's gonna run with it.
Yeah, yeah. That just shows how we put the country in reverse by electing him, and not just the obvious things, but in almost every way, we are worse off in 2020 than we were in 2016.
For everybody, and then when everybody tries to say Obama did the worst in this country, I will openly be like, I'll never say Obama was the perfect president, because here's the thing: there's no such thing.
No.
There's no such thing as a perfect politician. I don't care who they are. So, but we were dealing with climate, we were dealing with the environment, we were dealing with real things that really do affect us. We were dealing with all these different things, trying to make the world better with other nations of the world. And then here comes dude, nah, we don't need none of them. Are you sure?
Yeah. It's we got 69 days, not that I'm counting, but it is going to end. Biden? Biden's going to at least bring back normalcy and respect to the office.
Here's the thing: I don't care. Everybody's like, it's going to be so boring as the president. Who the fuck can't? The presidency was never supposed to be the thing where like, oh my God, what is the president going to do to potentially affect us? Politics are supposed to be as a whole, unless you are a political junkie. Politics are boring.
Right.
They're boring.
Well, and that's we the fan. This is the we fans. We come to all you guys through comedy, wrestling, comics, everything, and for the last 4 or 5 months, you, Roca, Winston, Dorina, you guys are the most, and it's partly COVID too, because I think you said it the other day. You're trying to do a Mad Titan podcast, and there's nothing to talk about right now. So
I got so many messages. I have so many messages in the Mad Titan email. It was like, "Yo, when's the episode?" I was like, "Have y'all not noticed? Ain't shit coming?"
Yeah, but it's the world is so messed up now that we don't have anything. And I don't want to get you angry, but I had not heard about what happened in Louisiana until I watched today's Birds.
And I don't think it's gonna make me angry anymore. As angry as again, like I said on the show, like Mark Ruffalo said in the Avengers. You want to know my secret? I'm always angry. So it's like it's a repressed anger in a sense. It's stories like, again, it's the same way we would have never known about Breonna Taylor. We would have never known about Ahmaud Arbery. These are stories that until they come and hit and circulate social media, unfortunately, they aren't known, which beckons the question, and I should have brought this up on Blurs, like, if these are only some of the few that we hear about, we can only imagine the magnitude of numbers, and it doesn't have to just be Black people. You know what I'm saying? All these other different situations we just don't hear about that get buried under the raucous of everything. And of course, like we said on Blurs also, if dude was not the story with him hollering election fraud, I believe we might have heard more about this.
Yeah. Well, and I try not to watch a ton of news. I'll watch CNN for a little bit, but right now it's all either COVID or dude,
But wait, no, but Jim, COVID was supposed to disappear November 4th. Didn't you remember?
I went to my first COVID funeral. It would have been a week ago today, so the 7th, 6th, 6th or 7th. So yeah. Now it was a friend of mine's mother. She was nearly 90. She had been in the home with some other issues, but you know, if it weren't for COVID, she'd still be here.
You know what? That's one of those things where it's like, I hate people who have been like, well, they were still 90. You're like, yeah, I get they were older. I get they may have had issues, but again, COVID exacerbated them. COVID made them worse. Like there are people who got, I think they called it twinsies, where people are getting COVID. And I have a buddy right now, a good friend of mine, who right now has both. He has the flu and COVID.
Right.
Like people think it's a fucking game. Like it's so, and it's sad because you see, again, you went to a funeral, you know, and we were told this is gonna, you had the president of the United States, a country that became the hotbed out of every place else for COVID, tell you the world technically, no, it's just gonna disappear on November 4th. What?
Yeah. Well, that's the other thing is we're going to be over 250,000 deaths in this country probably by Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
I think we're at 241 now. And
we need 9,000 more.
Yeah. And it's a couple thousand a day, I think, right now. That
I'm gonna love it because they're gonna lock the country down on the 21st of January. If it's not under control, he's going to lock the country down. But I'm pretty sure they are going to make sure they lock it down and make sure everybody is paid for 6 to 8 weeks, however long they need to lock it down. They're not going to play that game of it's locked down and nothing happens. They're going to make sure, look, we're going to give you funds so you can keep the economy moving. Yeah, you won't be able to go to a movie theater, to a restaurant. We're going to give funds to these restaurants and things like that. If these devs keep going, because he's not going to do it. Mike, I got a buddy right now who has a business in El Paso. And El Paso has been skyrocketing with cases, and they've not just been cases; they've been major incidents and cases. And so the state wanted to shut them down. I think a judge wanted to shut them down. The state was like, "Nah," and they trying to overturn. They're trying to fight it because they're like, "Oh, these businesses won't survive." And everybody's like, "Yeah, businesses won't survive without a stimulus plan." But again, I can't see, with a Biden administration going into the Senate, even though you have the devil himself, if they don't win, if the Democrats don't get Georgia, the devil himself is still leader. I don't think this time he'll be as adamantly against it, because now with it being, if it's 50-48, you can sway people now. As opposed to that major shit when they got, all that other thing. You can sway people now. So I think they're not going to, again, again, a sense of normalcy and how shit should be done.
Right. Yeah, and I actually think they're probably going to take those 2 Georgia elections because Trump isn't going to do anything to help them, and Stacey Abrams is going to be banging her drum.
She on the ground working again. If you can get because I was watching the election coverage, and I was watching it on several channels on purpose, because this was the only time I wanted to see what everyone was saying. And Steve Kornacki from MSNBC became a hero. That dude was like, I got these numbers over here. Hold on. He was just pulling out numbers. But they kept talking about how all these diehard Republican counties, even though Trump had a lot of votes, they had a lot of Biden votes in these counties. And if that's in Georgia, to let you know, people are like, I'm sick of this shit.
Yeah.
I'm sick of this. They're going to go to change this. And again, unless you just that goddamn dumb in Kentucky, where you're like, no matter what happens to us, I will never vote for a Democrat, which it blows my mind.
Yeah. Nah, it's crazy how Trump is getting the second most votes ever for president. He just happens to be in the year that the number one guy is getting even more.
And I think because, again, when he won, Remember, we all said the electoral college. We've been saying this for the longest, though. The electoral college needs to be abolished because it is very outdated. And if you know why, and people who know why it was brought up, it was very slave ridden too, like very heavy off of that. When he won in 2016, he only won because of the electoral college. He kept being like, everybody voted for me. Bro, you lost the popular vote by a decent amount.
Yeah, 3 or 4 million.
Yeah, and now about 5 million, you're losing the popular vote, and everybody's like, that wouldn't have been the best part. When all his supporters all of a sudden now are like, oh, the media doesn't call elections. Excuse me? Excuse me? Wait, they don't now? All of a sudden? They didn't call it they don't call in runoffs. They haven't called 4 years ago or all elections prior. You're telling me now all of a sudden, now we're just like, oh, they don't call it.
Well, and it is true. It's the calling, but they are doing, and because I have a math background, I could see where, okay, as I watch Pennsylvania's numbers keep growing, it's like, okay, they don't know how many votes are. That's why they can't call it. Because as Biden's lead grew, he took that. I think he was down 500,000 votes on election day.
Yes, he was, and then
each day I'd wake up and he'd knock 150, 200,000 off of the votes that were being cast, and that was another thing. The Trump supporters in some states chanting "Stop the count," and the others chanting "Keep counting."
I remember watching that on Friday and Saturday, on like Thursday and Friday, and I was like, "Wait, you want them to stop counting in Michigan when Biden's ahead? Because if you want them to stop counting, he wins." Then they're like, "Oh no, keep counting Arizona." Oh, because you see he's getting a few extra votes, and then they were like, people like, "Well, what do you mean they haven't counted everything?" They've already told you. In some cases, for every 3 votes that Joe Biden gets, Trump gets 1. You cannot catch up into that when you're 3-1.
Yeah, it was. Some of them were like 9-1 here in Pennsylvania.
You're not catching that.
Right. But the reason they couldn't call it because they knew they were still getting votes on Friday. So they were counting Wednesday, Thursday, and they still had to accept ballots on Friday. So they did. That's why you couldn't call it, because you don't know what you're going to get.
I mean, you can have that estimated, but you can have that prediction and that guess of like, well, this is going this way, but you got to wait till you see. And then when you start counting them and they just like, oh, this is what's really happening. You're like, yeah, we know what this is.
Yeah. Well, that's why Saturday morning it was, okay, we only got this many left and Biden's ahead by 50,000 or so, 50, 60,000. You can call it now. We don't have that many votes left to count.
You can call it. And then it was amazing. It's also been amazing. I need a recount in every state I lost. So, okay. So those are the only places all of a sudden where you think it's fraud. Also, like everybody has said, the only race, quote unquote, with fraud was the presidential race. And people allowed Mitch McConnell and Lindsey Graham to keep their seats and House Democrats to lose seats. Yeah, where's the math behind this?
Yeah, there was another thing, and I think it was on Fox News, because I was doing the same thing you were, flipping to all the news channels. And this was just the other day, but there have only ever been 3 elections that have been reversed after recount. And the vote difference was 260 was the most. It was like there was a 260, 215, and a 180 or something like that.
No, one Al Gore is like 530.
No. That actually, that one doesn't count because this was because it was the hanging Chad thing.
Yeah. Okay.
This is actual just recount.
Okay.
Vote. And it was like 3 Senate races, one in the 70s, one in the 90s, and one like 12 years ago.
Okay.
but he's behind like 150,000 in one state. He's 60,000 behind in Pennsylvania. They go, those numbers are never going to add up.
Right. It's like you can recount them, bitch. Like Georgia was the only one I knew. Like everybody knew Georgia because it was coming down so small. Like Biden caught up. He took the lead, but it was still so small. So everybody knew Georgia's gonna recount it. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Fine. But then when he started trying to shit on Georgia, and then everybody was like, hey, bro, Georgia got a Republican governor, lieutenant governor, and secretary of state. Like they're all and the head of elections is Republican. All of them are basically supposed to be like that. Lets you know how, like, look, we support you as a Republican president, but yo, this is what we got to do for democracy. This is we don't like you like
he probably thought he had done so much that he could end democracy here. He would win this election. He would find a way to get a third, fourth term. He was going to be president the rest of his life is what was going through his mind.
Or if he couldn't, he was going to find a way to keep his family in power.
Right. Now he's talking about starting a network and rerunning in 2024.
Yeah, but that's if that motherfucker's free.
Yeah, if he's free. And actually, I'd be okay with that because he's good. Even if he's on radio and TV and that, he's going to just drain supporters in that time.
Let him trying to run in 2024. I don't think this is how. Of course, this is how you know it's his idiot sons talking to him because they say Ivanka and Jared are like, yo, they like Ivanka and Jared are like, let's try to run in 2024. Donald Jr. and Eric are like, no, keep pushing. This is how you know he don't have anybody with common sense in his head. Mr. President, I just want you to know something. If you run in 2024, if you are still alive, you do realize all these young voters you talk shit about because you was trying to get rid of TikTok and everything, they will now be registered eligible voters for the fucking election. If you thought you got embarrassed, it's going to be worse.
You said about him being embarrassed, and his dance moves just popped in my head. I know you guys said he was jerking off ghosts, but I thought he was doing the gopher from Caddyshack.
Oh, that's what it did look like. But it's so amazing that one person, again, when you have nothing but yes men and women all in your life, that's all you have around you, that nobody can tell you the truth. But again, they're like, oh, he doesn't want to concede. Okay, he doesn't have to. Everybody was like, well, he didn't concede. There is no legal constitutional statute that says he has to. The thing is, his ego is that big that he can't.
This is an MMA. You don't have to tap out.
You do not have to tap. You do not have to tap. You can. Matter of fact, this is like there's a thing we say in MMA and pro wrestling. You can tap before the snap, but you about to feel his snap because you're just gonna feel his snap regardless.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh no, I just say he's delusional and he has just enough people around him because I've heard that law firms are stopping representing him because they won't go into the courts without evidence. He's having trouble finding. Oh yeah, that's what they said. This is their reputation now on the line.
That's exactly. That's what I said. Like, yo, I'm a lawyer. My law firm. I want to be like, I would represent like, here's the thing. I've said it before and I'll say it again. If there was proof, legitimate proof, show it. Then you say you need to do a recount, whatever, do it. Cool. But if I'm a lawyer too, and you have legit proof that everything is solid and concrete, I'm with you. But all you got is hearsay, and we got to walk into a court and the judge is like, do you have evidence? Well, he said, do you have actual evidence? No. Yeah. Get the fuck out. Like,
yeah. And maybe next time you have Tommy on, And I really like him coming in and giving the legal advice.
Hey, I'm so glad that him and Winston are friends, and he comes in and does that, because it helps out, especially in these times where it gives another perspective. Because everybody swears up and down they know how to interpret the law. We can, unless we've studied it, or we've really studied it, have been around it and understand exactly what everything is. A lawyer is going to know better than anybody.
Yeah. Well, if next time he's on, ask him if it's legal for Trump to pardon himself, because I've heard that he's going to somehow pardon himself, which I don't. Yeah. I think there's a lot of holes. Yeah.
That's the thing. That's why, again, he can't be. He's going. So for everybody maybe watching and don't understand, he's going down in New York. That is they know it. But again, you would have to think the attorney general is an idiot to sit there and say, I'm going to try to arrest the president currently, because you can't touch him on state charges. And then, because everybody was like, oh, well, he going to step down, let Pence be president and him get pardoned. If you think the attorney general would sit there and say, he stepped down, get him now, that would be stupid. You wait till January 21st and grab his ass, because then there's nobody that can save him. There's nobody.
Yeah. He's going to keep trying to weasel his way out, but that's all he is a weasel. He is the carpetbagger from back in the
old scallywags and carpetbaggers. Yes, he is.
Yeah. I mean, this is it's so crazy that we've actually had to live through this. But now we can all get the t-shirts that said I survived 2016 to 2020.
I mean, again, it's all of those, because it's just so funny how I think the fact with this administration it was literally the whole, will the world actually make it? It wasn't one of those, it wasn't a euphemism of what could happen. It was this dude is really unstable. And everybody's like, oh, well, Twitter isn't law. He's trying to make it law, and he's trying to aggravate people who are looking to do shit. Like, we were like, when we say I survived this, like you did, because when people were like, oh, we had to survive Obama's presidency, was like, there was no imminent danger of a country being eliminated.
Yeah.
There wasn't any of that. This was like, if we got 4 more years of this, like you said, he would try to find a way to make sure there are no more elections. He would try to find a way. And so now it's just like, again, everybody's like, oh, Joe Biden is boring. I don't give a shit.
Yeah.
I mean, also, America has to stop this whole, we need a 70-year-old person in general, man, woman, white, black. We don't need anybody over 60 years old being the president anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, I would say 35 to 65.
That needs to be the limit.
Those are because I don't think anyone below 35 should ever be president.
Right.
No offense to anyone under 35, you're just not there yet.
But I think that minimum makes a decent standing no matter what, though. It's like, all right, cool, we have this age minimum, but there needs to be an age maximum, because again, the Bernie bros were like, yeah, Bernie, this motherfucker's 1 foot in the grave, 1 foot out too.
Yeah. In the early days, I thought Mayor Pete Buttigieg, yeah, I thought he would be, but I think he would benefit from running for Senate or something, and
he would have to be,
and I think he's only in his 30s.
Yes, he is.
So, 2024, 2028. You be ready.
Well, I think the thing with him too, running for Senate would be difficult, especially in Indiana. You're a openly gay man running for the Senate in Indiana.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the reason Mike Pence was able to win, because he didn't come out as who he is. Like, that's another thing. I was like, yeah, Jim will understand this. You know how we always kept talking about the Russian P tape? We kept talking about that Russian that Putin has that. I really believe Trump has something on every single politician who literally keeps kissing his ass. He has to, because there is no way you can defend him that hard, especially when you talk shit about him at first. Lindsey Graham, for example, you can't talk that much shit about him, knowing he's going to be a terrible president. Now, all of a sudden, you gung-ho. He hasn't done anything to deserve to be gung-ho. I think he got the proof that Lindsey Graham is a gay man, which everybody has just been like, if you come out as gay, you're going to get ridiculed for a second for all the shit you tried to put in his anti-gay legislation.
Yeah.
You're going to get that. You're going to get that little backlash. But at the same time, people are going to be like, welcome.
Yeah.
Like
South Carolina.
South Carolina ain't gonna mess with him no more. That's the thing. He'll lose South Carolina, but it's like you'd gain more than likely outside of South Carolina if you just come out.
Would he? Because he's him and Mitch are like the poster children. I think.
Well, Mitch McConnell, they'd burn him at the stake no matter what. Mitch McConnell has proven to be the pure embodiment of evil.
Yeah.
He's the pure embodiment of evil.
You know, that stimulus package that was $500 billion, I'm sure a lot of that went into their accounts. You know, a large chunk of that the stimulus package was more than $500 billion, but $500 billion was unaccounted for.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure that went probably some to the people Donald owes money to.
Yeah.
Some that to make sure these Republican senators stayed in line. I mean, after McCain death, Romney's the only one that's even kind of half-heartedly.
Which I'm trying to figure out, what does he have on Romney?
Yeah.
Because he has to. He's got it. Because Mitt Romney, you can't explain to me how one moment you anti-Trump, but then when it's time to fall in line, here you are.
Yeah.
Like that one Republican senator from from Arizona, who stepped down, was like, I'm not doing this.
Mm-hmm.
You remember that one when he said it on the floor? He was like, I'm not doing this. No.
Yeah.
And so you got these people again. I believe he literally, because that's the only way you can explain to me how he is able to, like, he has to have something on Ted Cruz as well, because you're not going to talk about me and my wife and my daddy and all this, and then I'm still kissing your ass.
Yeah.
No.
And that's what cost him Arizona, is him going after McCain. You know, they said, hold on.
I don't know what made him think, if I shit on John McCain, a legit war hero, first of all, one of the most well-respected senators in Arizona's history, made him think shitting on McCain would still give him Arizona.
Yeah. When I was in the military in the 80s, I was Republican. My first vote was for the elder Bush.
Mm-hmm.
And those guys were much different than because there's, I forget what news, but they showed clips of Reagan and Bush, the first Bush, both talking about immigration reform, not building walls, but how do we make it legal for these people to come?
Mm-hmm.
Not they shouldn't come. It's just, let's make it legal for them to come over. And then you got, there's your first campaign lie, and I bring that up to the Trump supporters, is he told us he was going to build a wall and make Mexico pay for it. There's no wall, and Mexico laughed at him.
And the wall he did have built, it fell down, and people were like, oh, watch this.
It was like, what, 9 miles of new? But
he built a wall around the fucking White House, though.
Yeah.
He built a wall around again, because he's trying to be like, if I build a wall, they can't come in and take me out.
Yeah.
That was another thing. That's the thing again with being on Parlor and like all these dumb Trump supporters. Biden's not really the president elect. I'm like, let me let y'all in on a secret. All of those placards and the podiums that say the office of the president elect, those are official government things. You don't get those unless you're the president elect.
Right. And there's, I know Roca has said, I don't think there will ever be another civil war because that would require splitting the military. But
Yep.
Trump would find out he put all these yes men around him, and if it came down to it, I am sure the Joint Chiefs of Staff would walk in with a couple platoons and so you need to leave now. You're trespassing.
Like, so what you think you're doing here, Steele? You think that's what this is? Well, I want you to know about our oath we took to protect America from any enemy, foreign and domestic. Like,
yep. You raise your right hand. Yeah.
He thinks he keeps. So they told him when you become president of the United States, you have all this power, which you have power. You have certain things you can do, but they never told him the limits. And I think that was the best and worst thing they could have did because they were like, you can get away with some shit, blah, 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 blah. Yeah. And then when Congress let him skip, because again, everybody was like, oh, the impeachment was fake. The impeachment wasn't fake. We just all knew, everybody knew the Senate would never convict him and remove him. Like the impeachment was going to happen. It was legit and it was just. He's still on record as being an impeached president.
Yes.
So it's like they never told him like this is what can happen and this is what can't. Like they say, oh, because I remember I was watching Fox News, which again has been the best shit ever in this past week. Oh, I've never seen Fox News so split on how they cover him. Because you got the Hannity and Tucker Carlson who need him. They need him. So, of course, they kiss his ass.
They're going to be the leads on this new network that no one will ever watch. And
that's all they do. And they know, like, again, if you got to be an idiot to not see what they're jockeying for position on that new network if he starts it, which he had been saying before 2016. Yeah. So they're doing that. But also, they were talking about how, like, he would tell, like, some of the staffers were talking, their sources were like, he was talking about the Secret Service would have to drag him out. Like, they really wouldn't. I don't think he gets it.
Yeah.
Like, again, people might, even though he may have had Secret Service members who voted for him, he don't get it. Like, yo, bro, you are out of here. And again, I've said it to you, so you know it. I've said it on everything. He was not running to win again. He was running just not to lose.
Yeah. Because he was here in Pennsylvania. Matter of fact, he was only 25 miles from here, and I know people that were at that rally, and he I think they had 4. He was at 4, and they had like 10 all together with Ivanka and the kids, and but that's what they were. They're pep rallies. They weren't. He never said anything. He never had a policy or a plan.
Hey, but there's a healthcare plan. There's a healthcare plan. It's a great one. It's a great one. In this binder, this big, full of just blank white pieces of paper. Like,
no, it was all his executive orders. Because they said that, or I forget if they said it on 60 Minutes or I heard it on one of the news things, is they went through it. CBS went through that whole big ass thing, and there was nothing. There was stuff in it. There was nothing about a health care plan.
Again, we're going to get rid of Obamacare. Okay, you said that while you were running. And also, the Republicans said that, like, Obama was like, the Republicans said it when I was in office. Yeah. What are you talking about? Well, we got rid of the mandate. Okay.
Yeah. But that's most people that support the repeal of Obamacare don't want the Affordable Care Act.
which is the best shit in the world. It's the best thing in the world. It's the best thing. They're like, no, keep the, you got to keep the Affordable Care Act, but get rid of Obamacare. And then you just got to stop and look at them like, so you all are really, really dumb because the Affordable Care Act is Obamacare.
Yeah.
They're like, huh, what? No, it's not. Yeah, you can't put a law on the books literally called Obamacare. They labeled it Obamacare because it was a way to quote unquote try to diss him. And he was like, yeah, it's Obamacare. Call it that.
Yeah.
Again, these past 4 years, if anything, have exposed how bad our educational structure is, how gullible as a society we are, and how desperate to just leech on to anything that sounds like some level of what we needed to sound like. Again, they didn't want to leech on to hope and change from a black dude because, again, it's a black guy as president of this country. That's not supposed to happen ever. And so the white lash that came when he got, because again, everybody's like, oh, well, they'll vote for Hillary Clinton. Everybody believes that Hillary Clinton is the most corrupt person in history, but yet and still, she's supposed to get locked up. Remember during this campaign, we're gonna lock her up. Shit.
Well, and he did it this year. He uses trigger words.
Yes, he does. Yes, he does.
Socialism is his biggest. And you ask people, well, what's socialism? Well, and they start describing communism to you or a dictatorship. It's like, no, that's not socialism.
No,
that's these other things. But that's how he won Florida this time.
Because all you got to do is say socialism. Cubans are like, fuck you.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. And that's was that Tuesday's blurgs where Ava Longoria put her foot in her mouth?
Yeah, we're gonna put dance in her mouth.
My thought on that, no one group got him out. It took everybody, and
that was a collective effort.
Yeah, that's a teamwork. Go team. It's it's. But I can understand, someone wanting to say, yeah, we did it too, but that's what, like you said, he's attacking Philly because it's black people, but he won down in Philly 9-1. It's like 90% to 10%.
Same reason he attacked Detroit. He just told him he wanted to throw away all the votes from Wayne County. That's Detroit. Yeah. Like, again, you thought all the black people you were going to suppress, they weren't supposed to vote. You did everything in your power to prevent them from voting, right? But then guess what happened? A global pandemic, which you tried to downplay, and people realized this shit is real.
Yeah. Well, and even if he got rid of Philly, he still has the problem of Pittsburgh because he lost 85 or 88% to 12,
Well, he tried to get rid of fracking. He's gonna get rid of jobs. Get rid of fracking. Like jobs, no. And everybody's like, motherfucker, I'm not working now.
Yeah. Well, and the other thing is he said no new fracking on federal land. There is no federal land in Pennsylvania, or none of the fracking is taking place on federal land in Pennsylvania.
But again, buzzwords. Do you watch Family Guy by chance?
Yeah, I like.
Okay. Did you ever see it's an older episode? It's an older episode. It was when Lois Griffith decided to run for mayor of Quahog against Adam West, and she had a campaign, and she was trying to give actual plans and what she wanted to do. And they were like, you need to say something that's going to reach them. And she just kept going, 9/11.
Yeah.
And they were, yeah. And she go, nah, anything like Adam West would say. And then Tom Tucker be like, well, Mrs. Griffin, do you have anything in rebuttal? She goes, 9/11. And it's literally how a Trump rally was. He has keywords he says, like you just said, and they go crazy. They don't listen to anything else because, again, he's saying nothing.
Yeah.
This dude literally ran an entire campaign. I'm sorry to cut you off. He literally just ran his entire re-election like it was his first time running.
Yeah.
You can't tell people I'm not a politician. Motherfucker, you're the president.
Yeah. And I think we talked about it last month, all the Biden's America showing pictures of Trump's America on fire.
This is Biden. This will be Biden's America. Motherfucker, that was 2 weeks ago while you're still president.
Yeah.
But I think people who weren't Biden supporters, because that's the biggest thing. Like, it's not, everybody's always like, oh, all these Biden supporters. And again, like I said earlier, everybody's realized everybody wasn't a Biden supporter. But people who voted for Joe Biden was like, bruh, this is happening because of you. Literally. Yeah. This is literally because of you.
It's what happens if you elect an unprepared, unqualified person to be president of the United States.
We elected a dude off the street to be president of the United States. There's no other way to put it. Everybody's like, oh, he was his personality. No, there's no other way to put it.
He was the worst dude to pick off the streets, too.
Yes,
it's not, it's not just a dude. The worst dude.
He was the absolute worst dude. The most, like, I get some people say we need somebody that's not a politician. I can understand people's regards when they say that, because when you look at the political spectrum and whatnot, you may feel displeased about what politicians, Democratic and Republican, have done. Understandable. And you want someone new. You want some fresh blood. That is fine. However, out of all of the people you could have picked to run, you backed Donald Trump because you believe he's a successful businessman. Have you not checked their track records?
Yeah. How do you bankrupt a casino? They are supposed to be
a bastion of money. That is supposed to be money, just making money non-stop.
Yeah. Really, in anyone else's hands, that's what they are. He found some way to fuck it up.
I've never heard of any other casino I know of. That I can ever recall of hearing of any casino going bankrupt.
No, that's why they're building them everywhere. You know, anyone that can is get in a casino into their, you know, the reservations. States passing laws. Yeah, we don't have. Oh yeah, we'll take casino money.
She literally bankrupted the one thing that shouldn't be able to bankrupt.
Yeah, they're even better than banks.
Banks literally like, yo, we need to invest in a casino. Like, there's not a day a casino ain't. I mean, aside the pandemic. Before the pandemic, casinos were bringing in at minimum $10 million a day.
Yeah.
A day. And you bankrupted a casino?
Yeah. That's
the worst guy off the street ever. But see, that's the thing. That's the problem, though, because I said this to a couple of my friends after he got elected. I said, here's going to be the biggest issue with him getting elected. I said, number one, there probably won't ever be a candidate that all Democrats will get behind. Because at first there wasn't. When there was 22 people running, but it only just helped how bad. If he would have handled the pandemic right, he'd have got reelected. I guarantee you. That was his war. This was his wartime.
Yeah. That
and which one?
I do think, you know, the Democrats they've tried to give away elections in the, you know, or having 22 candidates is, you know, how can we let the Republicans beat our ass? You know,
when I saw that, I was like, that's ridiculous.
Mm-hmm. It's like a football team that puts all 11 guys on defense right on the line. No one back even.
not even the quarterbacks and the DBs and the safeties. No, everybody just stay on the line. Everybody blitz. Everybody everybody.
That's kind of the Democrats, how they run some of these elections.
But I was saying I said, beside, because again, the only reason everybody got behind Biden because of how terrible he handled this pandemic. More so,
Yeah.
I mean, the past 4 years played a big factor. The pandemic was everybody was like, "No, we can't do this." So the thing was, I said before then, not only would there not be a candidate at first, but he's opened the door to where people now are like, I don't want a politician. I want a regular person. Like, I need a regular person. And I was like, he's even opened the door to make it worse of it might have to be a celebrity. Because of course, Ronald Reagan was an actor before he became governor, then he became president. Actors and celebrities, again, Al Franken, Jesse Ventura, celebrities getting into politics are not a bad thing. That's not a new thing, excuse me. But you needed somebody who would have just as much appeal on a celebrity status level, what he'd open the door to. Like, and that's terrifying for the country. That's terrifying for any country.
Yeah. I hope that this never happens again, at least in my lifetime, because but
so like he was like, look, listen, don't do this shit. Do it when I'm dead. I don't give a
fuck. Yeah, in like 2070 something. Okay, I won't care. But no, I think I don't like you said about electing the old guy. We may get our first female president because of that.
I think you know what, and I hate to say this, and I don't want to be more. I think a lot of people are like, Joe Biden might not make it through this. Again, 78 to 82.
Yeah.
To go to 82 with the stress, not even just, again, people forget the president. They have said the presidency adds like 4 or 5 years to your life. Go ahead.
Look at any president, Obama, Carter, any of them. When they go into office, they look young. When they come out of office, you can see the years.
You can see, that actually. Let us both rephrase that. If they're doing their job, because you have to say it, because everybody's like, well, look at Donald Trump. All he did was gain weight. Like he didn't. Like, you can't see the A because he didn't work like a president works. No. And so all prior presidents have the look of the presidency, the weathered look on their face. Right. Joe Biden's 78 years old. He'll be 78 when he takes office. Yeah. You're telling me with the stress and everything he has to do as president, he is going to be able to deal that in his health. Now, look, I'm not wishing ill upon anybody. I don't want anybody listening and watching this later and be like, but it's just being realistic.
Yeah. But Kamala's only 48, I think.
And she gonna go ahead and slide on, because again, I think I said this about when Obama got elected. This is how backwards this country is. This country is so sexist and so racist. Remember the year that Hillary Clinton first ran, when Barack Obama popped out of nowhere, the country literally was like, better a nigger than a bitch. And that is terrible.
I do give Barack more credit, because I didn't know who he was, and I had heard his name in that, but then I saw him announce his candidacy when he was in Illinois there. And I'm like, well, shit, this is a president, you know.
Oh, yeah. He's my former state senator and everything. And so I knew of him. But again, when you're looking at the political landscape of who can be president, you're like, Hillary Clinton did most of the work when Clinton was in office. We know that. So that's what I'm saying. You see that track in a sense. And then everybody's like, oh, it's going to be her. And the country just some reason just hate Clinton so much. They were like, give it to the black dude. Give it to the black dude. And they gave it to the black dude not once, but twice. Because everybody was like, well, maybe Mitt Romney has a shot. It was like, nah, let's just go back to the black dude. And then it was done. And then it became Hillary Clinton could win this and be the first woman president, or Donald Trump. I don't understand if the country realized how dumb that made us look just in itself, saying that alone.
Well, and part of it too is not just dumb, but in a way lazy. I
Yes.
think they had a hundred and between them less than 130 million votes,
Yeah. Yeah.
and they're gonna top 100. The in 4 years, I mean, that's 20 some million more people that came out. You need this kind of uh, turnout for lack of, people need to take their responsibility of voting seriously. And there are times I haven't in like minor elections, but
Mhm.
president president comes up, you need your vote does matter. People have been telling everybody it doesn't. Well, if it didn't matter, why would they work so hard to keep people from voting?
And that's the one thing. I think that's the one thing. Like now, black voices, and brown voices, primarily, have been saying that main thing. Like, listen, if your vote didn't matter, they would not try so hard to keep you from voting. And I think that statement, especially, because a lot of people hear about it, even black and brown people, all different ways we hear about it. But when we saw it in our faces with him, when they were like, "Oh, we're gonna do mail-in ballots," and then saw him directly fuck over the post office on purpose.
Mm-hmm.
He was like, "Guess what? I'll shut the post office down."
Yeah.
And everybody's like, "Why? Really?" Started locking up mailboxes on purpose, and then people were like, "Oh, this what this is?" So then, when the ballots came in, people still saw the shit with the post office, and then every state started doing great advertisement and saying, "Listen, there are official ballot boxes. If you do not want to wait on the mail, these ballot boxes are secure. Drop your ballot in there." And people were like, "Oh, it's a pandemic. I can stay safe. No, my vote goes. I ain't got to worry about it. Cool." And that's what happened in record numbers.
Yep. It's that's hopefully again that we're getting back on the right track.
I mean, that's what we can hope for, right?
Yeah, I kind of agree with you. I watched in polite truce, and I agree that America's exceptionalism has never happened. And other than that's what we're supposed to be. That's our goal that we've set for ourselves, to be exceptional, to like, and I told you this long ago. It hurts that 15 years of my life defending this country in the military, and things like what happened in Louisiana happen, or even less drastic things go on, like you know, gay people not having the rights, blacks not anyone being thought of as less, or not living what I guess now is white privilege. And I don't like white privilege because it shouldn't be. That's the standard. That's where everybody should be.
Right.
I mean, there are times when, like, I forget what someone was talking, but they were talking about Trump pulling his kids in and stuff being white privilege. I'm like, no, that's nepotism. That doesn't.
There's a difference.
No race.
About that.
Yeah, there's a difference, because people say something's white privilege and something like that, and you go, I don't have that privilege, and so it is. There are differences, in things, but white privilege shouldn't be white privilege. It's the standard American way. It should be everybody.
And again, people forget that because it's hard. I think people forget that because, again, what this country has always been. And as I've always said, this country has never atoned for its greatest sin because it never wants to openly acknowledge it. It wants to always make sure that it glances by it like a slight blotch in history. Like, in Germany, you can't mention, the Hitler regime at all.
If you get caught wearing a swastika, you go to jail.
You go directly to jail in Germany. So here in America, we try to act like, yeah, that happened. We got past it. We moved on. That's not how you address it.
No.
And because of that, again, I brought it up on Impolite Troops and other places. There are states that just now this election took slavery as a punishment off the books. And the fact that people voted for it was like, no, let's have the potential. That's not a problem.
Yeah, I mean, slavery we inherited. It was here before the United States. So we are responsible after we became a country. Yes, we didn't start it. We shouldn't have taken 80 years to stop it. And when we stopped it, we should have, done a better job. I told a friend of mine, I think they should have hung Jefferson Davis, Robert E. Lee, not everybody in the South, but the leadership of the Confederacy for treason. Twice we've let an enemy off the hook, basically, after a war. And the second one's Japan. That's why China's mad at us most of the time. But that's a different story.
That's a whole other ballgame.
Yeah. Because I do get a little, not offended, but like, we never apologized to Japan for nuking them. They've never admitted they were wrong in World War II. What do you want? China's pissed at us because we didn't hold Japan responsible for all the deaths that took place there. But the South was the other one. And I can understand why Lincoln said he didn't want to make it punitive and he just wanted them back in the country. But I think if they would have punished the leadership of the Confederacy, at least somehow, I mean, he let most of them just leave. Most of them fled the country, or most of them just went back to their farms. But if they would have done something at the end of the Civil War to say this wasn't America, it would have went further.
To leave an emphatic statement of like, this is not what you do with our country.
Right. Yeah, but again, and then Trump and his anti-fascist dog whistle or whatever it is. Yeah, this country is anti-fascist. We fought against Italy. We fought against Japan, Germany, the South. Every time a fascist regime comes up, we fought against them and defeated them.
And I was like, why is everybody making Antifa? Like, okay, first of all, it's anti-fascism. You just want to say Antifa to try to make it a thing. Like, you act like that's a bad thing. I'm confused. I don't know.
And that's why they got to call it Antifa, because if you spell it out, people would see, hey, wait, we aren't supporting fascists.
I'm like, no, we don't support fascists. Right. That's the same thing they're fucking doing, is not supporting, because what's going on is a fascist government. Well, it's not. No, if you look up the definition of what's a fascist government, it's literally what's in front of your faces. But listen, man, as always, I love talking with you. I love going in depth with you. That's why you're one of the people, like, I look forward to everybody's, but I love these because these go so deep each and every month. And people like, oh, okay. They can, because, again, you have the funny conversations, you have some of the serious, you have certain topics, and these can go deep on a level that some people, that I hate to say it, you have to have an older state of mind to understand, because you've had to have seen more of the world and understand more in a broader spectrum. And so that's why I always love talking with you, Jim. You are one of the best, man. I'm so grateful for you. I'm glad you're well in your township. Township. Man, I also say thank you for the love you've been showing, when you check out Blurs on the replay and everything, man. I know you're not heavy on the socials, and if you want to, you can plug anything.
I just look forward to hopefully December or January we can get back to talking nerd stuff because there's lots of
We should
wrestling,
be.
comics.
Well, I just kind of want January to happen so I can figure out because they just announced that Wonder Woman 84 may go to HBO Max.
Oh wow. I did hear about WandaVision coming out January. Which isn't bad because they have something coming out Christmas Day on Disney Plus to bridge you from the end of The Mandalorian to that.
Soul.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just would love to get back to talking wrestling, comics, movies.
I want see, but here's the thing with wrestling. I want to be able to talk it where I'm not like, oh, what are y'all doing? Oh, come on. But like, I just wish they'd have took a break. I mean, they could have taken a break and they could have granted now here's the real quick thing. Here's the crazy part we don't understand. A lot of people forget. Unofficially, we're on the road to WrestleMania again.
Yeah.
Because Survivor Series starts setting up everything that's going to happen at the Rumble to turn around and happen at WrestleMania. And it's like, wait, didn't we just had it, even though it was weird and awkward. But it's like with the WWE, and then there's as of now on their schedule, they will be on the road in January.
Wow. That probably won't happen.
Well, the states they have set up, the ones where the governors have been like, come on through. I don't even know why would you take that chance?
Yeah. Well, maybe they want to push the numbers to 500,000 dead. That's
Man,
but Vince doesn't care about people. He cares about money.
Vince especially when like I know the one thing that's hurting Vince McMahon the most is the fact they can't go overseas. Because for everybody who don't know, that is where the WWE makes their money.
Yeah.
That's why they so quick that we got a European tour coming and blah, 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 blah. They love going. They make a killing overseas.
Yeah.
And they didn't get to do their blood money shows this year either.
Yeah, that's what's it going to cost you about $1 billion to book a WWE show. That's what the Saudi prince is paying or so. Yeah.
You can book, if you have $1 billion, if you get somebody with $1 billion, legitimately, you can book people think it's a joke. $1 billion will book a WWE show. Yep. Can you imagine a random billionaire? I want a billionaire to fucking throw a WWE backyard show.
Yeah, Mark Cuban or someone like
just in his kid's back, like literally in his kid's backyard. Like I want to see Randy Orton by a tree. Well, listen, we will continue this conversation next month, but I'll holler at you guys a little later. Take care. I'm out. Bye, y'all.